Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time we're taking a close look at how AI is changing the landscape of cancer research and patient care.
Definitely an area ripe for disruption and innovation.
Absolutely. And we have two research papers to guide our deep dive today.
Okay.
One uses AI to analyze, patient messages and actually generate research questions from that.
Interesting.
And the other investigates how a new AI model is enhancing the performance of these things called medical AI agents.
Sounds fascinating, especially given, my work in this field. I'm really eager to see what insights we can uncover.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, let's kick things off with that Stanford research. They used AI to analyze, get this, over 600,000 patient portal messages.
Wow.
Yeah, from individuals with either breast or skin cancer.
600,000 messages. That's a significant amount of data. How did they even begin to make sense of all that?
Right. Well, they used an AI-powered natural language processing model to pinpoint, the top 5 concerns for each cancer type. And for example, patients with breast cancer were, really worried about skin rashes and itching, probably because of treatment side effects.
Yeah, side effects are a huge concern. They can really impact a patient's quality of life. So it makes sense that this would be a top concern.
Exactly. And then the researchers took things a step further, and they used ChatGPT to generate potential research topics based on those concerns.
Oh, wow. So they're using AI not just to analyze the data, but to actually guide future research.
Exactly. And what they found is that 2/3 of these AI-generated research topics were actually novel, meaning they haven't been extensively studied before.
That's pretty remarkable. It's like the AI is identifying gaps in our current research efforts.
Yeah, like shining a light on areas we might have overlooked.
Exactly. I mean, imagine a future where patient voices captured through their messages directly shape the research agenda. We could have more patient-centric studies that address the issues that matter most.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, let's switch gears a bit now and talk about the second paper, which focuses on these things called medical AI agents.
Okay.
So these are, sophisticated AI systems designed to help with diagnosis, treatment planning, and a lot more.
I'm really interested in this. There's huge potential for AI to support clinicians in decision-making, especially as cancer care becomes increasingly complex.
For sure. And this paper specifically looks at a new AI model called O1 and its impact on the performance of these agents. They found that O1 significantly boosted diagnostic accuracy and consistency.
O1. What's unique about this particular model?
Well, it uses advanced techniques like chain of thought prompting and retrieval augmented generation.
Interesting. I've heard a little about those. So chain of thought prompting, is that the one where it kind of forces the AI to think out loud?
Yeah, exactly. It breaks down the reasoning into steps, almost like how a doctor might think through a diagnosis.
Makes sense. It's not just about getting the answer, it's about understanding the process, right?
Right. And the retrieval augmented generation, that gives it access to a wider pool of information. Like, imagine having a medical library at its fingertips.
So it's not just about processing the immediate case, but pulling in relevant information from other sources as well.
Yeah, precisely. To really test this out, the researchers ran O1 through all sorts of simulated clinical scenarios.
Like what?
Well, even high-pressure situations like intensive care units, where quick decisions are critical.
Oh, wow. ICUs are definitely a tough environment, even for the most experienced clinicians. So how did O1 handle it?
It did exceptionally well, actually. It outperformed previous models, particularly in complex cases that required multi-step reasoning.
So it's showing promise in those challenging settings. That's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah, and what they also noticed is that there was less variation in O1's performance, meaning it was more consistent and predictable than previous models.
That's crucial. Reliability and predictability are key if we're going to trust AI systems with patient care decisions. This consistency is a very positive sign.
Definitely. Okay, and then there's one more really exciting application for these LLMs that we need to discuss before we wrap up this first part.
Okay.
It's the future of patient matching for clinical trials.
Yes. That's a crucial area where AI could have a huge impact. Streamlining that process would be a major win.
Exactly. So imagine these models being able to sift through all that free text clinical trial information.
Right, all that eligibility criteria.
Yeah, and then matching that against patient data. It could revolutionize the way we enroll patients in trials.
Sounds like a game changer.
Right. And there are already models being specifically fine-tuned for this task, like the open source Llama 2 model. You might have heard of that one.
I have, yes.
Then there are others like TrialGPT and Oncology, which also show promise in this area. It's exciting to see all these different approaches being explored.
Absolutely. It speaks to the importance of this application.
Yeah, it really does. So, we've just scratched the surface here. But it's clear that AI is having a profound impact on oncology, from uncovering hidden patient concerns to developing these powerful tools for clinicians.
It's incredible to see how AI is being used to, actually improve the lives of patients in such tangible ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is amazing to see how AI is being used in such tangible ways. These AI advancements are paving the way for smarter, more responsive tools to support better patient outcomes. It can really boost decision-making in clinical practice.
For sure. And it's fascinating how some of these models, like O1, are designed to almost mimic the clinical workflow of a human doctor. Like you said, with the chain of thought prompting, it breaks down that complex reasoning into steps, similar to how a physician would approach, diagnosis.
Yeah, and it's not just about mimicking that thought process, but making it transparent. By forcing the AI to sort of articulate its reasoning, we can better understand how it arrived at its conclusions, which I think is crucial for building trust and ensuring responsible use of these models.
Absolutely. And then you have that retrieval augmented generation, which allows the AI to tap into external information, kind of like medical databases or recent research papers.
It's like giving them a continuous learning loop.
Right, ensuring they're not just limited to that initial data they were trained on.
It's fascinating because it actually mirrors how clinicians constantly update their knowledge, right? Attending conferences, reading journals, staying up to date on the latest research. It's all part of staying at the forefront of medical practice.
For sure. And the researchers behind O1, they really put it to the test with those various simulated clinical scenarios where we talked about even those intensive care unit settings.
Yeah, those high-pressure environments where you need those quick, accurate decisions.
Exactly. And it's really interesting because O1 actually performed exceptionally well, even surpassing experienced clinicians in certain situations.
It really highlights the potential of this model as a valuable tool in critical care environments, although it's important to remember that these are still simulations. They're not meant to replace human clinicians altogether. They're really more like tools that can augment human capabilities, offering support and insights to enhance decision-making. It's more about a collaborative partnership between humans and AI.
Yeah, it's not about replacing doctors, but giving them more information to work with.
Exactly.
Okay, well, shifting gears just a bit, I want to loop back to that topic of matching patients to clinical trials. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there for AI to really streamline that whole process.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, finding eligible patients for trials is often a huge bottleneck in research, and any tool that can expedite that process would be a game changer.
Right. And these LLMs, they can analyze massive amounts of data, like patient medical records and those clinical trial eligibility criteria, and identify potential matches much faster, way more efficiently than those traditional methods.
What's really impressive is their ability to process that free text clinical trial information, which is often very complex and nuanced. It's not easy to extract those key eligibility criteria from that kind of text.
Exactly, yeah. And the great thing is these models are constantly being refined and improved. Some are being fine-tuned specifically for those trial matching tasks, like we talked about that open source Llama 2 model.
Yeah.
And then you have those other models, like TrialGPT and OncoOM, each with their own strengths and limitations.
It's encouraging to see that variety of approaches being explored.
Yeah, it really is. And as these models continue to evolve, we can expect even greater accuracy and efficiency, which could lead to faster research progress and ultimately get those new therapies to patients more quickly.
That's the ultimate goal. Now, I want to shift gears a little and delve a bit deeper into the technical aspects of O1. We've mentioned chain of thought prompting and retrieval augmented generation, but how do those techniques actually work in practice?
Good question. So chain of thought prompting basically guides the AI to think step by step. It kind of breaks down complex reasoning into a series of smaller, more manageable steps, almost like giving it a framework to follow.
So it's like the AI is showing its work, making the reasoning process transparent and auditable. That's important not just for understanding how the model arrived at a decision, but also for identifying potential biases or errors in its logic.
Exactly. And then you have that retrieval augmented generation, which allows the AI to access and process information from those external sources, like medical databases, research articles, even real-time data feeds.
That's key, because it overcomes a major limitation of those traditional language models, which are typically limited to just the data they were trained on. Retrieval augmented generation gives them access to this vast, constantly updating library of medical knowledge.
It makes them much more adaptable and up-to-date compared to models that only rely on their internal knowledge base.
Exactly. So if new research emerges or medical guidelines change, O1 can actually incorporate that new information into its reasoning, ensuring that its recommendations are always consistent with the latest evidence.
Yeah, it's constantly learning and evolving, so it's combining that step-by-step reasoning with access to external knowledge, making it a really powerful tool for that clinical decision support.
Absolutely. And the researchers really put it through its paces, testing it in various tasks like diagnosing conditions, recommending treatments, interpreting test results, and it consistently outperformed previous models.
I remember reading about that impressive example in the intensive care unit setting. They presented O1 with a simulated case of a patient in severe respiratory distress.
Oh, right. And it was able to analyze the patient's medical history, vital signs, lab results, all of that, to accurately diagnose the condition and even recommend the appropriate treatment.
It was pretty amazing. In some cases, it even outperformed experienced clinicians, which again highlights the potential of this model in those critical care environments where every decision really matters.
Absolutely, but it's important to remember those are still simulations. Real-world clinical settings are far more complex and nuanced.
Right, of course.
But beyond just accuracy, one of the key findings of the research on O1 was its enhanced stability. It showed less variation in its performance compared to other models.
And that's super important in healthcare, where consistency and reliability are paramount. If a model's performance fluctuates wildly, it would be really hard for clinicians to trust its recommendations.
Absolutely. The consistency of O1 builds confidence in its recommendations and strengthens its potential for integration into those real-world clinical settings.
For sure. Now, while the focus of this research was mainly on those simulated scenarios, the researchers also explored the use of O1 in a collaborative medical agent framework called MedAgents.
Med agents, I've heard of that. It's a fascinating concept. It basically simulates a real clinical environment where a group of AI experts with different specializations, they come together to discuss a patient's case and reach a consensus on diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, it's like having this virtual team of specialists consulting on a case. It's amazing.
It's leveraging the collective knowledge and experience of multiple AI agents, and the researchers found that incorporating O1 into this framework significantly boosted the performance of med agents, leading to more accurate and consistent diagnoses.
It's a great example of how O1 can support not just individual clinicians, but also enhance collaboration and communication among healthcare professionals. It's leading to more efficient and effective care.
Yeah, it's about using AI to facilitate better teamwork and knowledge sharing among medical experts. Now, before we wrap up our discussion on O1, I want to touch on one more aspect of its capabilities, its ability to use external tools.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. The researchers were exploring how O1 could interact with tools much like a human doctor might use a medical database or order a lab test.
Exactly. Traditional AI models typically operate in isolation, just relying on their internal knowledge base. But in the real world, doctors use a variety of tools to gather information, make diagnoses, and plan treatments.
So giving those AI agents this ability to interact with tools really expands their capabilities, makes them more versatile and adaptable to different clinical scenarios.
And the researchers found that O1, with its advanced reasoning and knowledge retrieval capabilities, actually excelled at tool use. They tested it in scenarios where it could access tools like medical databases, imaging software, even simulated lab tests.
And it was able to effectively use those tools to gather more information, refine its diagnoses, and recommend more personalized treatment plans.
So this seamless integration of tool use into the decision-making process is a big step towards developing truly intelligent medical AI agents that can function in real-world clinical settings.
Yeah, it's not just about providing information, but actually taking actions that can directly impact patient care.
Exactly. Bridging the gap between theory and practice, moving these AI models from simulated environments to real-world clinical workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, while the results of these studies are really encouraging, it's important to remember that real-world clinical settings are far more complex and nuanced than any simulation.
That's a really important point. There are countless variables and unpredictable factors that can influence medical decision-making, and it's crucial to continue researching and refining these models to ensure they're truly robust and reliable enough for real-world deployment.
Yeah, rigorous testing and validation in those real-world settings will be absolutely essential to build trust in these systems and ensure that they're genuinely contributing to better patient care.
Absolutely. And with that, I think it's time to move on to our final thoughts on the future of AI in oncology and touch on some of those broader societal and ethical considerations.
It's really exciting to think about where AI is headed in oncology. We've talked about its potential in research, diagnosis, and treatment, but what about its role in personalized cancer care? That seems like a huge area for potential growth.
Absolutely. Personalizing cancer care is where AI could really revolutionize the field. Imagine every patient gets a treatment plan that's specifically tailored to their unique tumor, genetics, even their lifestyle. AI could analyze all that data and make that a reality.
That's incredible. So moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to something much more targeted and effective.
Exactly. AI can help us understand how different cancers behave in different people, how they respond to different treatments, even how lifestyle factors impact the disease. This understanding paves the way for treatment plans that are not only more effective, but also more tailored to each individual's needs and goals.
So it's about empowering patients, giving them more control and involvement in their own care.
Absolutely. Patient-centered care is really at the heart of personalized medicine. And it's not just about data analysis, it's about using AI to empower patients and strengthen that doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah, that human connection is so important. Now, all this is really exciting, but we can't ignore the challenges. We talked about bias, transparency, and data privacy. What other hurdles do you see as critical to address?
Well, one key area is the need for really rigorous clinical validation of these AI algorithms. We've seen a lot of promising results in labs and simulations, but we need to test them thoroughly in real-world clinical trials before widespread adoption. We have to be absolutely sure they're safe, effective, and reliable when making decisions that affect patient care.
Right. It's about moving beyond the hype and making sure the promise of AI is backed by solid scientific evidence.
Exactly. And we also need to develop clear regulatory frameworks for AI in healthcare. As these technologies become more sophisticated and integrated into clinical practice, we need guidelines and standards to ensure they're used responsibly and ethically.
Yeah, those frameworks need to address data privacy, algorithm transparency, and accountability for AI-driven decisions.
Absolutely. And they need to be developed collaboratively, involving clinicians, researchers, ethicists, patients, and policymakers. It's a competitive challenge, but getting it right is crucial to ensure that AI benefits everyone, both individuals and society as a whole.
Well said. I think the key takeaway here is that AI is a tool, and it's up to us to guide its development and application in a way that aligns with our values and truly benefits humanity.
I completely agree. The future of AI in oncology is incredibly promising, but it's a future we must shape together with a focus on ethical considerations, patient-centered care, and always with the goal of improving the lives of those affected by cancer.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and oncology. We hope this has given you a deeper understanding of this rapidly evolving field and its implications for the future of cancer care.